What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. I'm BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets as usual. We are getting into a really good slate. We've had a lot of really lousy slates lately, partly due to COVID and certain games being scheduled funny and all that, and then other games being on playoff football weekend. So we have a big slate tonight. The first one I'm excited about in a while, and going to play it pretty big. Going to max out both sites, both all the small maximum stuff, and yeah, ready to get after it, man. You told me you like the slate too. Give me some of your thoughts.
Yeah, so let me tell you why I like slates like this. I like slates like this when there's really, really big, like so 10 games and whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a couple of spots and a couple of guys I really, really like, right? So I like it because ownership is probably going to be spread out a little bit, such that I'll be able to play these guys maybe not at 100% ownership. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of into my process today because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have my core, and then I'm going to try to fill those in with kind of low owned guys which look good, and honestly try to mooch off you and whoever else I can find to get good plays to kind of filter in to the guys that I know that I'm going to want. So yeah. Obviously there's going to be stuff that comes out that we don't know about and all that stuff, but
yeah. I think one thing I thought, like, it's because it's not that I want to spend up so much, but I want to spend medium up at least in a lot of spots, or all the way up in certain spots. But mostly it's I do find the need for value that's not really, we don't really have great minimum-ish value. And I think look, we're going to hear about information later that we probably don't know about yet, but we'll cover everything that we do at least have some idea about. And yeah, I'm ready for you. Ready to go?
Yeah. So is this the first? I think I'm sharing my screen, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So is this the first?
First
time we get all three of them, right?
Yep.
So again, one of the reasons why I also like these slates is that I do think people try to force stuff in when not force stuff in, force themselves to play too many guys on slates like this. So I actually, at first look, didn't really like anything from this game. I didn't like anything from Brooklyn. On Cleveland's, I mean, barely. I mean, honestly, I'm really not too into this. Although I will say, I mean, he's certainly overpriced, especially coming off the bench. But it is kind of a shame to not give Allen a shot playing against Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little annoying. That would be sweet if Andre Drummond just said, I'll sit this one out just so that you can get out there.
Yeah, I would like that as well. I don't know what's going to happen in terms of the Cleveland. I mean, we need to know about Garland and Sexton because it changes a lot of things for me. I actually do have interest in Garland, assuming this game, that he plays. I think he'll play his normal minutes if he does play. And I love the matchup against Brooklyn for basically anybody who's going to be active, especially guards. I think they're going to have a lot of success with the defense that they're going to be facing. So this game is going to play fast, huge up pace for Cleveland. I don't think it matters as much for Brooklyn that it's slowed down because Brooklyn will just play at their pace. Obviously, I think there is like going to be blowout risk a lot with Cleveland in general, but especially with Brooklyn's firepower, they could just go on a crazy run. And but here's what I'll say. I do think I'm going to play some Kyrie on DraftKings. I've got him currently I actually have like more of him than you'd think. Like I actually have him in project like around 20% that I'm going to play him. I think that if he gets his minutes and he will be motivated, he'll get a lot of assists. He's active. He's not a guy who gets, he's not a 40 fantasy point guy. And I don't think we should assume he's going to be all of a sudden. I think he's going to run more of the offense than they think. I think they'll stagger the minutes more, and he and Harden won't be on the court, but maybe for half of their total minutes played together. So I like Kyrie at 9K. It feels a little bit too cheap for him. It's going to be hard when you measure him against other players, but if you think about Kyrie, just take Damian Lillard, for example, at 10-4 or Luka at 10-7. Is Kyrie going to be within, 7 fantasy points of those guys, 10 fantasy points of those guys often enough and save you some money? I think yes is the answer. So I like Kyrie as a sort of wild play. I don't see anyone going to him tonight. I haven't heard anything about this, but maybe as the day goes on, he'll pick up some steam. I need to know about his minutes, if there's going to be any sort of restriction. Honestly, it's weird if they were said, we're going to start him off the bench, sort of like not as maybe a punishment or something. I think that I would like him even better. I actually just have a lot of interest in him. So 20% is where I've got him sort of slated for my big build. But other than that, in this game, it's just a little bit of Garland. And then if Sexton plays and Garland doesn't, then I have interest in Sexton.
I'm going to really show my ignorance with this next statement. I I thought about it when Harden and Durant played together, and we talked about whether these guys could both get there, and yeah, of course they can, and they both kind of did in that first game. And one of the reasons why, what's that?
They both did it. They both went completely off. They combined for 150 the last game.
Right. No. So the reason why is so you hear people talk about rates, for example, and I might be again showing my ignorance here, but one of the rates that people go in start talking about with projections is assist rates. So which is I guess the percentage of the assists that go to a particular player. But the thing that's going to help, and this is really just like level one thinking, the thing that's going to help guys like Kyrie in situations like that, which is the same thing that helped Westbrook in situations like he was in, is the assist efficiency is going to be so strong. In other words, like think about it, like take Lillard for example. Like he's kicking it out to God knows who, right? Where whenever Harden throws, like Harden's got all these for example, he could throw the ball to Durant, and if he throws the ball to Durant, it's more likely Durant's going to come through for him to give him that assist than if he throws to some other guy that used to be on Houston, right? Mm-hmm. And likewise, like Kyrie, if he's wants to take it to the rack, he has that. If he's not, it's not like he has to kick it out to Torian Prince, right? Now he's going to be kicking it out to James Harden, or right. to Kevin Durant. So that's one of the way that all these guys can get there is because they're going to be so efficient with every time they come down the court. And I was thinking about this when I was watching one of those COVID games. That's what I like to call them, where you had all the Miami scrubs, all getting 40 minutes. Like they were all in the game. And then I was so surprised that, okay, well, why are they not scoring? You know what I mean? Because they suck. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you're in the game and you're getting all this quote unquote usage, meaning that the possession ends with you doing something, but that doesn't mean that you're scoring. When you're kicking the ball out to another guy who happens to be on the court, the chance that he scores is just not that good if they're not that good,
So Brooklyn also rates at their current projected pace from a couple of things that people ran that I heard on a podcast. They rate to have about between 8 and 12 more possessions per game than another team. That makes up for some of that stuff. They're going to play that fast. There's going to that doesn't sound like a ton, but when you get I mean it's a lot. You get 10 to 20 to 10 to 15+% more looks in a game is more rebounds, more assists to go around, more steal opportunities, more blocks, everything. Not to mention that other than Andre Drummond, they don't really have a rebounding presence. I do think that we should. I'm sorry, not Andre Drummond. I mean DeAndre Jordan. I think that they're gonna. I mean, they prove that they're gonna play him minutes where they need to. And I know it's gonna thin out a little bit, but if he is unowned today, I would take a shot or two with him. I don't love it, but they really don't. I mean, they're gonna put Reggie Perry out there in a game. If it gets to be a blowout, he actually is gonna be an awesome long shot play, but you can't really do that. I don't think on this slate. But I just want to throw it out there because I don't know who they think is going to play the 5 if Drummond and Jared, who's going to guard these guys other than DeAndre Jordan. So he might, where he's projected to play 25 to 30 minutes, he might play 35 minutes again.
I don't think it's going to matter. I think that, I don't know. If I had a team like Brooklyn, I really wouldn't worry about who's going to guard DeAndre Jordan. I mean, who's going to guard Andre Drummond, honestly.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough, unless Katie doesn't want to play center. And then you've got
play some stupid zone or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. They'll just run up and down the court and win by 30. You know, that's going to be their.
I sort of feel you on that. I think that's a realistic possibility.
I mean, and some of these teams that have so loaded offensively, I mean, again, I coach this way too. Sometimes you just don't care. I mean, who's guarding who? I mean, because they're not going to stop you. It's this is, I want to say before your time. I mean, obviously you're a basketball fanatic, so you know. George Gervin used to be the highest scoring player every single year, right? Mm-hmm. And he was known for really not playing really good defense. And they once asked him, say, hey, does it bother you that they used to call it George Gervin defense? They said, George, does it bother you people trashing your defense? Dude, if you outscored your man, you played good defense. You know what I mean? So that's so I don't think they're too worried about this. So I'm not, I guess they could come up with a reason why they want to play DeAndre Jordan 36 minutes, but I'm not worried about that too much.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's if for any reason the game is close, I just see them. I'm just saying based on their recent proof that they played them in a game that they didn't
absolutely.
Even so anyway,
but they didn't have all 3 of those guys.
That's true, but it shouldn't actually matter because then you play him with Harris,
Yeah,
and you play KD at the 4. That's the way I see it, rather than Jeff Green
could be.
being out there with them. But it's possible. I see Jeff Green in the smaller matchups, but even that I wasn't quite as right with. Anyway, let's jump over to the next one, because I think it's an interesting game. It's Dallas and Indy. I am first of all, I don't understand. It's interesting that the Indy's only a half-point favorite at home now. I know they don't have, they're missing technically pieces, but they've been better than Dallas has been lately. I actually like Dallas though. I think this is the spot where we do just decide we're going to play Porzingis and live with the rest of it. I don't mean like it's a huge slate. There's a lot you can do, but he played 32 minutes the other day on a back-to-back, and 34 minutes the game before. He's projected to play, let me grab this real quick. Where did he go? He's projected to play 32 minutes, 30 to maybe 34 by some people. I think you can bump that up if the game is close, like it's projected to be, to 36. And if you make him 36, he all of a sudden becomes an awesome play. And not to mention that his projection for production is probably a little lower than it probably should be. Now, there's always foul concerns with him in matchups like this, because he can tend to get physical, especially with guys like Sabonis and all that. But I actually think they'll end up trying to put James Johnson on him. And I think that Porzingis will end up playing the 5 a lot, taking everybody like Willie Cauley-Stein out of it for me. And I think that I really like Porzingis, and I like Luka still. I think they're fine together. I always say this, but the reason I like Luka tonight is, if people really do just overly flock to Lillard on DraftKings, and I know he's in the spot where he should do it and all that stuff, but Luka is like way, way, way too cheap. Like, just way too cheap. The other night he was having a terrible game. Maybe he had a terrible game against Toronto, but they got blown out the other night. But against Chicago, against Milwaukee, he's still like, I was watching that game, and he was doing nothing, it felt like, and he still puts up 63 fantasy points. He's just too cheap. It's just, there's no way around it. Unless there's a blowout involved, he basically is a lock for 55, and that's just like his floor. So how do we not play him at 10-7?
Yeah, I like Luka a lot tonight. And the other guy that's just kind of has to be in play, I mean, if you want value, is Brunson. You know, he's going to get 20 plus minutes every night. And, you know, again, I don't know if you're going to need it or if other value comes up or whatever it is, but he's just, you know, he's going to project at 5X, right?
Right.
So it depends on how else you want to build. I don't know if I'm going to actually need it the way I'm going to end up building, but it's certainly possible. I like Luka a lot. And, you know, with Kristaps, it's the same story that you capitalized on many times last season. You know, he's going to project poorly, and he's just going to smash. You know, it's just the way it is. And his
if he doesn't
ownership
get in foul trouble or something, he should.
Yeah, and his projections are, you know, his ownership is going to be low as a result. Now, they did price him up a little bit on FanDuel from that 6,800 tag from the day before. I think I have better options at power forward over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree. I think he's going to be a low on play. I don't know. See, like, he's not going to be part of my core, but this is the type of player that I'm going to play. And I know that you can play him with Luka together, but I don't think I'm going to today. You know what I mean?
I don't necessarily need to play them together, but if I split these guys up and combined, they might be in 70% of my lineups then if I split them up. I might have a couple with them together, and you know, not only do you don't need to hope for overtime, but you've got a great play to run it back with on the other side, assuming, again, this game should stay close based on everything we have. Whether Miles Turner plays or not, Brogdon's a terrific play. If Turner plays, he's a pretty good play. This game, I know Dallas plays slower, and they've slowed the pace down and all that stuff. Indy's actually been pretty sloppy. This game actually has a pretty high total at 218.5, which was kind of surprising to me. But I really like the Brogdon and run back, and I think I'll probably skip Sabonis just because I would rather play other guys in his price range if I was going to go that high. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I like Brogdon and Sabonis. Those are my two favorite plays. I don't need to get I'm not going to do anything fancy with those guys. Although, I mean, again, just to throw it out there, again, this is not going to, you know, win you $1 billion. Just a guy who's been trying to pop a little bit is TJ McCollum. He's been over 20 minutes, like 3 of the last 4 games, it looks like. And pretty much every one of those games, the last 4 games is fine for 3,800. So
yeah, I actually agree with that.
So I figured I'd throw that in again as another value guy alongside with Brunson.
I mean, honestly, I'm interested to see what happens. Whether, I mean, obviously Turner being out, I think does open up more minutes for all these guys than them to play a little bit smaller and Sabonis at the 5. So I think that like Sumner, not that you want to play these guys, but if you're looking for desperate value, Sumner, TJ McConnell, they get a bump if he's out, especially. But
If he's out, do you do stuff like play like Jakari Sampson if he's available or no?
No, Jakar Sampson might even be out too, but he's also.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, if Jakar's out also, yeah, then you look, and then even like Holiday on FanDuel makes some sense. Doug McDermott would all of a sudden be in play more on FanDuel where he's 3,800, but on DraftKings he's 47, probably a little bit too much, but he would play a lot of minutes if Turner's out, I think.
Okay.
Okay, let's ready to move on. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Boston, what's that?
I said start it off if you want to. Sorry.
Yeah. So Boston, Philly, I almost want to cross the whole game off. One of the truth. The one guy that I kind of had as a decent value is Tristan Thompson from Boston. Or I mean, if you wanted to pay up for, I mean, if you want to do this, you could play. I guess you could play Embiid at center, but I don't know. I think the whole game's kind of weak from a value and DFS perspective. What do you think?
I really like Jaylen Brown. I mean, we have no. I know Kemba's back on a limited minutes and all that, but Jaylen Brown is 8,300 on FanDuel, 8,700 DraftKings, which seems a little bit a lot of your salary, but he should have a good game here. Like this is Philly's actually like as much as their defense shows up as being a great defense, I feel like they've given up monster games to mostly 3-point shooting, 2/3s, which is Jaylen. So you've got Jaylen taking, 9, 5, 6, 9 threes and 8, 2, 7, 10. Those are his last game, his 10 or 8 games or whatever threes. If he's going to be active and shooting out there without Tatum, I mean, he's got to be, right? Like Kemba's probably going to play 24 minutes. Marcus Smart obviously is not the same active. Like there's not that much activity offensively for this team. And I actually do have interest in Tristan Thompson, specifically as I think they'll try to keep him out there to play against Embiid. And he's better on FanDuel at 44. But if you're looking for value on DraftKings, and I actually do like Embiid quite a bit. Boston still struggled with the bigs, and even though Thompson's a good defender, Embiid I think he's more on a mission this year. Everything I've heard from everybody is like, I know he had the one, some weird games that were in there, but one of them is a blowout too. But I think you're going to get some just monster performances from him this year. He seems more dialed in and engaged than most players. And I think this game should be close and a good matchup. I mean, so I like Embiid a lot.
Okay. You want to move on?
Yep.
You could start off the first.
Change my percentage of ownership here because I'm not talking myself into it, but I like to do my initial ownership and then as I'm going through, see how I feel. Detroit, Atlanta. So this is actually a game that I usually would want to bet the over, but Atlanta's been a little bit slower lately. Detroit's defense is garbage. Like just defensive rating, they're just awful. But they don't exactly like play at a blistering pace either. They're not entirely slow. The plays in this game for me are simple. Like it's a big slate, so it's harder to have tons of interest. I do think Jeremy Grant is just with all these shots and with what he's doing. I don't feel like on this slate you like need to have him, but he is like at 7,700 in play for me at least. And I think Plumlee is too cheap, and I think that he'll get the minutes. I don't think this is a good matchup. I think Capella is really solid, like short up their defense, but he should be able to do enough actively out there where he's in play at 5,200. Derrick Rose as a tournament play is an awesome tournament play to me. This is the kind of team because he will try to light up somebody one-on-one. And I mean, you see, he's not getting the minutes right now, but he put up 33 in 26 minutes the other day. He put up 39 in 21 minutes the game before that. He can put up fantasy points in a real hurry. If this game is tight, I could see him, easily hitting like 6-7 times value. So those are the guys for me.
First of all, for those we would be remiss not to point out I don't know whether it was just a mistype or whatever. I think that they actually really meant to put Herder at 5,900.
That's what
and they literally just typed 95 instead, which is it's really the only explanation, right? So that's kind of funny. So to steal from another content provider, I think this is an interesting vomit stack type game. I like the guys you mentioned. I like Derrick Rose. I like Jeremy Grant. I like Plumlee a little bit. I actually like your man. I like Josh Jackson a little bit. And the Atlanta guys, I like Trey. Like I said, Detroit's defense is terrible. I like Cam Reddish if he plays. And guy I've been touting the last, like, whatever, man, freaking Clint Capella is the nuts. I mean, like, he's amazing. And he's only 7,600. So I like these guys, man. I think this is a sneak. I don't want to say sneaky, but this is a game you can go after a little bit. So I'm gonna be doing this. I mean, not these are my 100% favorite plays, because I mean there are obviously some kind of lockish type things later, but this is I kind of like this game a little bit.
Yeah, I don't mind. I agree with. I didn't get to the Atlanta side on my side because I did want to talk about that. It is a good game stack, but I don't know. Like I mean, you never think you hear these words. Clint Capella is only 7,600. I know he's put up 2 monster games in a row, but the guy literally wouldn't have paid off this price but one other game this year. I do think he's better than he was producing early on. They obviously seem more inclined to play him the extra minutes. Seem to favor like not playing him and Collins quite as much together. But Collins is even still playing enough. I actually think you put Collins in play too, but I do prefer Trey and Capella. And then I don't mind if you want to play Herter where he is affordable on FanDuel if there's no Reddish, and I like Reddish if he's in, just like you. So we're pretty similar on that one. I just don't have it's not my favorite game to stack, but I do think that it's an interesting little mini stack.
Okay, you want to move on to Miami, Toronto?
Yep.
All right. Bam. Again, I don't know. You gotta watch it, see who's playing. Like, see if Hero's back. I am presuming that Hero is back for now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't prove that, but just for the purpose of this analysis, I like Bam. And I like Dragic, I guess. Those are the 2 guys. I mean, nothing special, but those are my 2 guys from Miami. Bam and Dragic. And on Toronto, man, I got to tell you, again, maybe I'm a little biased. I played him the other day. I mean, I'll tell you who leaves it out on the floor every freaking game is freaking Lowry, man. I mean, I don't know how he does it. I mean, as much as I was surprised that Clint Capella was 25, I can't believe that Lowry's like 35. I mean, it's like ridiculous.
No,
I mean, the guy looks like he's freaking 5 years in the league. I mean, the guy plays 100 minutes. He's diving on the freaking floor. I can't. It's amazing. So I guess these guys are fine, man. I mean, Van Vliet, Lowry. I'll tell you who I might be off of. I'm kind of sick of playing Pascal Siakam. You want to know the truth?
Yeah,
guy can't shoot, and they run plays for him to shoot. You know what I mean, from outside. I don't know if I want to do anymore. Boucher 7,300 certainly makes a lot of sense. He just keeps getting there, I suppose. So I like him a little bit. So for me, the normal guys, Lowry, Van Vliet, and Boucher. I'm kind of off of Siakam though.
Yeah, I'm a little bit lower on Siakam too. I would rate them Lowry, Boucher, then Van Vliet. Until you start realizing how the guards that you want to play on the slate, that's the reason why these guys are going to get overlooked as usual.
Yeah.
My feeling with Toronto now, I don't like going against Miami, who doesn't exactly, run up and down the floor. But I do think that you want to try to get some exposure to these guys. I would, like I said, I rank them Lowry, Boucher, then Lowry and Boucher and Van Vliet as like an even thing. Probably give an edge to Boucher only because the position scarcity, but make no mistake about it, especially regardless of who's out there, Jimmy Butler is not there, and that means their perimeter defense is not the exact same. Putting Dragic and as hard as they play and Hero and all that on these guys, somebody could have a big night here, and I expect somebody to. I don't know if it's going to need to be in the winning lineup because it's not the best matchup, but I do like the tight rotation they have and the minutes. And I think if you run it back, I love Bam. The problem you start getting into with Bam on DraftKings is there's a better play at the same exact price, at only center eligible also. So you have to decide which one you want to play, and you have to decide if you want to play them both together.
Okay.
All right. I think we're going to get to that guy in just a minute, and here he comes. Go ahead.
Yeah, you really like Naz Reid that much, huh?
That's not him.
I'm just kidding. All right. So Orlando, Minnesota. First from the Orlando side. So I'm telling you, man, I'll in this other project that we're working on, I discussed this idea that people have certain biases, and when a person starts to really just go against their biases, I would give that like kind of extra weight. And my examples are whenever Bobby would like say the Dodgers are a bad play, they would never do anything. Or when he would say that Westbrook would be a bad play, he would never do anything. And I'm just gonna say, okay, that I spent a whole freaking like year, right, never playing Aaron Gordon. And this past season and over the last couple of weeks, I said, you're really starting with when he first started to get minutes. I just said, you know what? Let's just keep playing him. And he's just smashed almost every single game. Now, 17 rebounds, I guess we're not going to expect that. But, you know, the numbers don't lie, man. Maybe he came back better off the injury. And, you know, Minnesota can't guard anybody. So he's good. I like Vooch at 8,600. Yeah, I guess you'll talk more about him. I think he's fine also. I didn't feel as he was as much of a maybe as of a I don't want to say a lock, but a smash as you might. But we'll talk about it. And then I'll do Minnesota first. Minnesota is gonna be weird to get right, man. I'm telling you, people are assume that they're gonna get this right, but I'm not sure about this. Like for now, I mean, like, what do you do with someone like Jordan McLaughlin, who finally got minutes, right? You play him at 3K. You play Naz Reid. You play Jared Vanderbilt. I mean, I think all these guys are very, very in play. You know, Anthony Edwards. I just really feel I'm going to get it wrong. But it seems like again, if Atlanta Detroit was the obvious sneaky game, maybe this is the sneaky game, like Orlando Minnesota. I'll let you talk about this one, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go real quick. So over the last 10 games that weren't like separated by 20 points, Vooch is averaging like 50, like
Okay.
I think maybe a little higher, maybe like 53 or something. This is as you know, my feeling, this is like the nut matchup. So Vooch is my favorite play in this game, and he's like, I think he's the best. Like he might right now just be like, of all the spending guys on the slate, the best play. So I'll definitely have a lot of exposure to him. I might need to try and get his lineups with him and Bam, both at the same price. I do like Aaron Gordon. Again, I'm just going to play everybody like it's the Nets against.
Excuse me. Aaron Gordon, you mean the point guard eligible Aaron Gordon?
Point guard eligible. I didn't even realize he was point guard.
I'm just looking at this right now because I was searching for him in power forward. I couldn't find him.
Wow, that's so weird.
Point guard, small forward. The other guy I would have mentioned, by the way, before we leave this Orlando side, I played him a couple of times. He's been getting some pretty meaningful minutes and has been pretty active as Kem Birch. So I would figure I'd throw that out.
Yeah, it's been more matchup based in my opinion.
Okay.
But there are, you know, it is interesting. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about it because I also wanted to get to a couple other guys I really like. I definitely am going to take. I know he's absolutely been awful for us, but if there was ever a game, I mean, like he shot 5 for 16 against the Knicks, Terrence Ross, and he put up 30 fantasy points. I think that Terrence Ross even at 6,100, but especially at 5,300 on FanDuel is definitely in play. Again, not matchup for him for a guy like this. He's going to get plenty of opportunities. He's got to make some. Cole Anthony, I'm going to take shots on both sides as well. I really want to try and attack these teams I don't believe in, and I don't think Fournier is going to play. So all these numbers are going to change, and these guys will be much more popular as the day goes on, except for Terrence Ross. I also like the Minnesota side. Orlando's playing faster this year. The defense hasn't been the same. I do think that trying to figure these guys out is a nightmare, and there's so many of them you don't know which one. So I have like Jarrett Culver and Josh Okogie in lineups right now for me, but they're more just placeholders. By the way, I wouldn't even mind if we heard like James Ennis was getting a start tonight. If we get no Fournier again, I would take a shot even on him in this game. I just wanted to throw another cheapie out there. So I'm looking at this from that perspective. I prefer Beasley to the other spend ups, and I don't mind. I like Naz Reid. We just talked about other good centers over here, but on FanDuel where they're a little higher priced, the centers, and then you got Bam at power forward. I think Naz Reid, or actually I think Bam is at power forward. I'm not sure actually over there. Naz Reid is an interesting play over there, more so than on DraftKings, but I do think that I like him as a long shot play. I think that in terms of matching up with Vooch, it's hard for me to see them try to put Vanderbilt on him, but I like Vanderbilt too a little bit. I mean, so I'm sort of right now, I don't have great insight because I've got these guys like in my 10 to 15% range, which means I need to sort of just figure it out. And I definitely want to include Anthony Edwards, who won't project well, but will probably take enough shots to give you a chance. I mean, he's 5 for 16 in the last game, still put up 20. Give you the idea if he makes some shots, what could happen. And again, I don't believe in these defenses as much as usual, and I think Minnesota is just garbage everywhere. My only worry with picking their side is that they're going to spread the minutes out more than I think the Orlando guys will if the game's close.
I think it might be a bad idea to chase the minutes from Vanderbilt. I don't know.
The only thing is that it's been like, it was pretty consistent, but when Cat was out, he was starting to trend into the 20s when Cat was out and playing really well. And then Cat came back. Of course, he lost his thing, but then he was gone again, and all of a sudden you see it bump back up. So it's hard to know for sure. But at 4,900, I don't think it's something you must do. But he is a guy who's got 40 plus upside. So it's just like I feel sort of wishy-washy on all of these guys on DK. I do have Naz Reid as one of my centers on FanDuel.
Okay. You want to do Phoenix Houston?
Sure. So on the Phoenix side, I actually like, to try and attack this Houston team. So I've got a little bit of interest in all, the suspects. I'm not going to play probably as much Devin Booker, but I'm going to keep taking shots here and there on him. So I'll throw him into the mix, but he's not going to be any sort of priority play. Low, guy takes some shots on. I do think Chris Paul is like an ideal matchup, and the fact that it's playing Houston and all that doesn't probably carry the same weight that it once did. But I sort of like him, and he's 6,900 on FanDuel, 72 on DraftKings, so he's in play. I also think it's a decent matchup for DeAndre Ayton. Anytime you're going to get even a few cousin minutes, you're going to have a good chance here. So I think they're all in play. Probably, one of my other values is Cameron Johnson. That's it for that side for me. I do think they're all like, again, I need to figure out where I want to go overall in this slate, but they're guys I'm mixing in on my multi-entry things. I'm just not like married to any of them.
You want to do Houston too, or you want me to do?
Yeah, you go Phoenix, and then I'll go Houston.
Right. So I think that I think Cam Johnson's easily the best value today. I mean, especially if he's going to start again at 3,900. I mean, it's so for me, that's my. I'm just presuming he's going to be 30%. I'm hoping that like Rodney Hood and other 3,900 guys just kind of get, whatever. I mean, if they're playing Houston, it's going to be a fast-paced game, and if he's starting at 3,900, I'm going to try it. And I think Chris Paul is a really good play also. I mean, I think this is going to be a very. I mean, I just think this is a typical game against Houston. I don't know. So I'm going to play these guys, and yeah, Booker's hasn't really done anything meaningful.
By the way, neither has CP this entire season.
Neither is CP. Okay, so I don't know. Being able to use Cam Johnson in a stack with these guys makes the whole thing kind of cheap. So I'm gonna cheaper. So I'm gonna try this because I just presume that we're gonna just run it back with Oladipo again. I mean, he's I don't know what's gonna happen honestly when I know what's gonna happen when Wall comes back, but Oladipo looks like perfectly good point guard to me out there.
Well, yeah, but in all fairness, they've looked terrible. He's just Oladipo taking shots. I mean, that's all that it looks like.
They looked pretty good in that game, I think.
No, they were terrible. They just got smashed, and then they made up some BS points when they're down 20.
I don't know, man. I like them. I like the way he looked. So I think that I like to run him right back again. The same guys, Eric Gordon again, and Christian Wood. I think all three of them. I don't think you need to play anybody else really. And I think to me, this is like the easy stack. I don't know, maybe, I don't know. So for me, it would be Oladipo with Gordon, Oladipo with Wood, and run it and with Cam Johnson and one of these two dudes. I don't know. Maybe that's just too obvious.
That's fine to be obvious. I like both those guys too a lot. I currently have, I'll probably have like at least 25 to 35% of each of them, I think. And I like them. I like Oladipo on both sides. I think Aaron Gordon is an interesting tournament only play, but like long shot tournament only play. But
who are you talking about?
Eric Gordon, excuse me.
Eric Gordon, okay.
And I would put Deshaun Tate in the same sort of long shot tournament only kind of a play, as well as the problem is, who really suffers from all this stuff, and he'll be 3K again in no time if the way that they're playing. PJ Tucker used to be able to get shots off and stand in the corner and actually occasionally shoot the ball. Now he can't even, and also with Wood, he doesn't get the rebounds. It's hard. I mean, he's going to play a million minutes, but he's a guy who used to like to sneak in and would occasionally give you that 30 that you could use at 1% ownership. I just don't know. if it's the right time for him yet. But I think it's mostly just Wood and Oladipo for me.
I have another one. I have another weird one for you.
Okay.
I didn't really do all the work on it yet, but again, if you want to just, I think it's a 10-game slate, I guess you wouldn't need to, but is Frank Kaminsky getting minutes again? I guess not. I mean,
I
okay.
didn't even realize, like, which team is he on?
He's on Phoenix. He was off for he was off for a while. Then he came
Actually,
back.
hold on. Yeah, he will actually.
I mean, he played 15 minutes in his last game, and he's only 3K. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah. Yeah.
And the other one for this game
That's
is
kind of interesting. I'm gonna put that as like one of my.
Okay.
Take a look into that one. Good call.
and you want to play a guy who is literally 0 for the field. DeMarcus Cousins was 0 for 7, but you give me 16 minutes. I don't know.
Can I tell you something I just found? I mean, yeah, you're right. Maybe too big a slate, but DeMarcus Cousins, so of the highest usage rate of all players in NBA history, it was a big thing because Durant and Kyrie Irving and Harden are all in the top 16. Do you know what number 5 is on that list of the highest usage rate in NBA history?
Not PJ Tucker.
It's DeMarcus Cousins.
Well, DeMarcus Cousins, it would be nice. He wouldn't maybe he wouldn't go 0 for 7 if he didn't shoot 5 threes. That would have been nice.
But you know what? For him, if I play him, I'm just happy with any time he's doing. He's look. I mean, what is his floor is like his last game where he gets a 50 point per minute, and so and he could literally double that like by accident if it making any shots. I'm into this actually. You know what? I think I need to get a little tiny bit like a 10% of Cousins or something because that actually could end up being a thing.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Especially, you know, it's funny. The slower paced game, you know, Phoenix playing a little slower might actually help him too. All right. San Antonio, Golden State. Sheets, you want to start this one?
Yeah. If Oubre had a really, really nice game in his last game. And
that was one of my only takes was Oubre over Draymond at the same price, basically.
And if Wiggins is out, then Oubre's probably a good play anyway. But if Wiggins is out, then Oubre gets even some more shots. And some more rebounds, or more everything. So that's one play. Wiseman, I guess, is fine. I'm not gonna pay up for Curry today, just because. I mean, I think my salary is better spent elsewhere, I suppose. Certainly fine, but that's not where I'm going. And San Antonio, not play anybody. So, you have anything for me in this game?
It's crazy. Curry was like insane in the fourth the other night against the Lakers. And
hey, for my son with his
that was called. Tell him about the bet.
So my son, in spite of me telling him that you can't beat sports betting, like he's been betting a little bit, whatever. Like all the kids in college, that's what they do, right? And so he does all this live betting stuff and all this stuff. And he I don't know how he did this one. There's like 4 minutes to go in the game, 5 minutes to go in the game, and the Warriors like a plus 360 underdog to win against the Lakers. And you might think I'm going to say, oh, he bet them at plus 360 and they won. Oh, okay. No, he got 10-1 on Golden State winning by exactly 1 or 2 points. And when he told me this, and I'm like, it's ridiculous. How could it ever like land right there? I guess that's why I get 10-1. And it totally landed right on the number. So I don't know how he did it. And he also bet like Curry at halftime. He bet over Curry 23.5 points or something like that. And that got there pretty easily. Yeah, he did have an extremely good fourth quarter.
Wow.
I don't know. You like him this game?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
I think he's definitely one of the guys you want to play. Like, I mean, we know the ceiling is infinite. We know there's certain games where the other guys have sort of been taking over, especially if Wiggins is out though. Just again, more usage. I mean, you could argue that maybe his assist numbers aren't quite what you'd hope for, but they're still pretty solid. And he's still going to put up, 55 plenty of the time here. I think he's interesting. And people think, look, DeJounte Murray is a good defender. The weirdest part about San Antonio for this team with all these great defensive point guards, and even when Derek White's healthy, maybe it's the fact that you're playing Lonnie Walker and what's his name also, Patty Mills, but they actually aren't they don't do a good job fantasy wise against the position over the last few years, even with these guys. So Steph's always in play. The tempo will make up for any seemingly difficult matchup, which is not really one in my opinion. If Wiggins is out, I will take a look at Damian Lee for value, but I like the Oubre play. And I do think Wiseman, this is a good time to go back to him. We did see him playing more minutes. He got in foul trouble early against the Lakers and pretty clearly couldn't match up with their size at his age. He won't have the same issue with these Spurs, in my opinion. So I think those 22 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever the people think he's going to play, I think they could turn into 28. At that point, he would become a terrific value, especially in what should be a good pace matchup. So I have some interest in this side. I'll just to give out some ideas, because I don't want to just like everybody. Curry's the one I probably have the most interest in at probably around 15 to 20%. Oubre about the same, 15 to 20%. Obviously, we go up if Wiggins is out. Maybe Oubre would be more like 10, maybe a little lower if Wiggins is in. Draymond, I'll get like 10 to 20%. I don't know exactly where I stand on. I still like every game that he gets 30, Curry doesn't do anything. So I mean, in terms of fantasy. So I don't want to play them together, but they do play great together. They just don't necessarily correlate well fantasy wise. But I like all those guys. And then it's really basically impossible for me to find anybody to play at all on the San Antonio side. The long shot play would be Vassell. They give him run when he gets, going, or when they're playing well with him on the court. He's put up 23 games in a row. Actually, maybe he's not as bad a play as you think, like 20 plus 3 games in a row, did it 27 the other day. The minutes have been decent enough. Could play more than 22. He's 3,800. So without much value, he's the guy who I guess I'd be most likely to play. Rudy Gay on FanDuel, by the way. He's 4,100. I think he's okay over there.
Absolutely, actually.
Yeah.
All right. Move on?
Let's do it. You want to start this one off?
Sure. I like Marvin Bagley, and that's it from the whole game.
Ooh, that's it from the whole game. You don't hear that very often. So I think that I'm going to have like a Clipper. I'm just going to take a shot that this game is close, and on FanDuel, I mean, on DraftKings, they're good plays too, but there's just a lot of other good plays. These guys stand out, especially on FanDuel, Kawhi and Paul George. So my feeling about playing Sacramento. You will hit a ceiling if the game stays reasonably close. Last game, these guys, the problem is they're too efficient. They're so efficient. It's ridiculous. I mean, they're hitting like 70% of their shots, and they both would have gotten there against these guys. They only played 27 minutes and 27 and 29 minutes. If this game stays reasonably close at the 35 to 40 minutes that they'll play, because that's really how they've played with Ty Lue there, they're going to somebody's putting up 50, maybe both. So I like these. I think you have to get exposure against Sacramento. They've literally just been leaking fantasy points everywhere. And on the DraftKings, it's hard to play anybody on the Sacramento side for me in this matchup. But I do think that I'll take another shot with Fox on FanDuel at 7,800, especially depending on whatever the ownership comes in at. It's not chasing his monster game. I do think he's awesome, and when he gets going, he can really get going. Beverly's a tough matchup, obviously. But I'm interested there. I also will take like a hero shot on a blowout run Lou Williams play, a la Sheets, although that was a 2-game slate.
If he even plays.
If he plays. If he doesn't play, I think that you can actually consider
Luke Kennard.
Luke Kennard, yeah. He's, like he gets the shots up when he's in there, and he's been on fire, but this matchup is as good as it gets. He just put up 32 against these guys the other day. Basically the same situation almost. So anyway, it's a game that you have to hope it stays close, but even if it doesn't, I think one of PG and Kawhi get there. I've got them both around 20% on DraftKings, but I have much more interest on FanDuel, where they're going to be like probably the 30s or 40s for me. Yeah.
Are we understating Luke Kennard's ability here?
No, I'm into it. I like to play, but you got to remember he's got to shoot the lights out, which he did.
Yeah.
But and then he's the other blowout guy you could use. So maybe actually that's a better idea than I mean, I don't know why I said Lou Williams over him. I just think that there is an outside chance in this kind of game, both those kind of guys. I mean, you can get whatever you want against the Sacramento team.
So you want to go on to the late night chalk hammer or whatever?
Yep.
Okay. So this is my opinion on this, and it went from one thing to another, to a different thing. Actually, I shouldn't say that. So I'll start with Portland with McCollum out again. It's just basically the Lillard show. They price, you know what? Good job for them pricing him up at least, right? And I think he's fair at 10-4. I think he's I think he's very similar. If I had to pick between him and Luka, I think it's a legitimate tough call between Lillard and Luka. And then other guys on Portland, I find interesting. I mean, Cantor, Cantor is fine. Covington, again, I know we don't, he's not the greatest, but he's fine. Who was pretty active? I was watching the last game is Derrick Jones Jr. I just like the way he plays. He's always attacking. He's getting blocks. He's getting rebounds. Carmelo, the thing that bothers me about Carmelo is it looked like he was smashing the whole game, and you know what I mean? And he really didn't. And I don't like guys like that. These are the whatever. I'd rather play Cam Johnson than Rodney Hood. I don't think I'm going to do that. On the other guy, if you wanted to just take a really just crazy shot, is is the Harry Giles. But what's interesting is Memphis. So first of all, I would say the obvious play. So what's his name is, as much as what's his name is really mispriced on the one side, Herter. I think they really did a bad job with John Morant here.
I thought you were going to say the other guy too. They did a bad job with Tillman as well.
Well, I'm going to start with John Morant. I think they did a really just terrible job pricing him. I think that 7,300 is with no minutes restriction. I think he's the easiest play on the board if you want to know the truth. And then the other guys, one of them you mentioned is is Tillman. I mean, if he starts, I mean, it's going to be rough to fade him.
So that's the interesting part, though, isn't it? Like, this is a guy who should be like 50+% owned with the value currently where it's at. But if he doesn't start, what the hell happens? Because this is the late game. Like, you don't have another place to pivot except for, I mean, you got the other two games you can pivot to, but not a guy that really fits in. I guess, I mean, you're playing Hood then instead of Tillman. Like, I mean, it doesn't feel good.
I'll tell you what I'm doing, right? So the other kind of obvious play also is Brandon Clark, right? I mean, with no Valanciunas out, with no Valanciunas, Brandon Clark is it's funny how it's become this way, the safer play, right? So with John Morant being popular, Xavier Tillman being popular, Brandon Clark being popular, how about Dylan Brooks? That's going to be, I think, what I end up doing if and when I stack this game is going to the I presume, much lower owned Dylan Brooks. With Morant back, he's going to get much easier shots, I think. And that's I think what I'm going to do. So Morant is again, just not to sell him short. I mean, Morant, I think is a tremendous play. I'm going to have to honestly do a little more work on the Tillman thing before I just buy into the being 100% on this guy. So I haven't figured that out yet. But Brandon Clark is good play, but I don't know. I think that throwing Dylan Brooks in the mix is a good way to go.
Yeah. So here's the thing. This game could easily go small. Now, I have a ton of Tillman right now because he's the best value on the slate. Like, he'll be the best point per dollar on anything you look up. I don't even understand like how he's 3,500 after it's pretty clear that he's going to play more minutes. The thing that's interesting, like, there's foul trouble potential again against Cantor. There's no guarantee that Cantor plays a ton of minutes. In fact, there's totally a route where Giles gets a lot of run, or they don't even need a center because Brandon Clark's the only one. Brandon Clark ends up playing the 5 in some spots. Also, Gorgui Dieng might play some minutes. Gorgui Dieng may start. We don't know. And it's a weird spot not to know going into that last game. So make sure you've got your pivots ready. We'll be back with you guys later, but so we can talk through this a little bit more. But that's my sort of concern, is that we don't need Tillman probably starts. This is probably an awesome play, but let's just keep in mind there's some potential of the way things could go a different direction. There's a lot of bodies on this Memphis team. They don't have a lot of size, but other than Cantor, what is Portland really going to do size-wise that's going to bother you? There's nothing. There's lineups they could run out there that could have Carmelo at the 5. They could run Harry Giles easily. I actually think Harry Giles is an awesome wild card tournament play. Like absolutely the kind of matchup you want. By the way, Memphis loses Jonas, gets Ja Morant back. What do you think is going to start happening with Memphis? They're going to play fast. And what happens with Portland? They play fast. This is going to be a really, really good tempo game. Just keep in mind the number of actual bodies, the wings. That's the only thing that worries me about Kyle Anderson and Dylan Brooks, who you mentioned. I think Dylan Brooks makes more sense on FanDuel where he's 5,200. But there's no guarantee for these guys' minutes. They've been playing Grayson Allen a bunch. Desmond Bane has been really good. Tyus Jones had been playing great for them in Morant's absence. Then you've got even guys like Anthony Melton are going to get run, who's now way down the bench because of all these other guys. But there's just a lot of guys out there to get some run. So I love Ja and I love Tillman right now, but I want to make it clear that there's more variance there. Brandon Clark does seem like the safer, easy route to go, but may end up not being quite as high owned as you think. So keep an eye out for that one. But I like all those guys. And then I obviously love Lillard, but I don't think it's automatic. And one of the ways that's not automatic is maybe Cantor smashes. Maybe Rodney Hood, a combination of Rodney Hood, Carmelo, or my guy Harry Giles, or Gary Trent makes 5 threes. That's the sort of the route you're looking for. So I'm sort of taking looks at all those guys. But Harry Giles is my favorite sort of like hero play of the day. I don't know how much of him I'm going to end up with really, but if there really doesn't open up a ton of value. And by the way, if for some reason Tillman isn't starting, we get worried about anything, or you want to just even pivot off of him in some lineups, you can switch over to Harry Giles. That's one other thing you could do if you have him at center. The problem is the center position is too good. So as much as I like him in the play, it's hard for me to really get to him. But I do plan on being, having some of Cantor. I just don't feel like it's a lock that he plays all these minutes. I mean, you look at it could easily be 15 to 20 minutes instead of, I don't think the fact that Nurkic is gone locks him into 28 minutes. In fact, I don't think he's averaged 28 minutes for like a week in his recent NBA career, maybe ever. So, all right. Do you want to go through? I've got my ownerships on both sites. I can just talk about some highlighted things if
yeah, go for it.
Okay. So the guys I have the most ownership in, and again, some of these are placeholders. Also, let's see what happens. Tillman is one of them. Luka is one of them on DraftKings. Vooch is one of them. I have these guys like 40%-ish right now. 35% Porzingis, 30% Clark, 30% Lillard, 30%, 25% Christian Wood. No, sorry, 30% Christian Wood. 25% Aaron Gordon, 25% Oladipo, 25% Cam Johnson. I think I'm going to bump that one up a little bit. Even though it does worry me because the usage is not exactly flowing on that Phoenix team. And then I got Kyrie and Paul George and Kawhi in the next tier. Do you want to really quickly talk about FanDuel positions? No?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to highlight this. Well, I know we've got Sheets' DraftKings lineup up there, but we're talking some FanDuel. Here's who I've got the most ownership on.
Yeah, I'm just getting a little.
Yeah, do your thing.
My computer's just getting a little wonky. Right? That's okay.
Oh, no, okay. So at point guard, my highest owned players will be Dame, Ja Morant, Cole Anthony, Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Trae Young, and it's in that order. Some of those guys are close, but one guy I want to make sure to get a little bit more of is, like you said. So one thing that also to remember is motivation is a big thing. Toronto is the team that plays all these minutes, and they're going to play these guys till they drop in any game. And they're in like must-win mode because of how they started the season. And they started playing better lately, but they're 5-8. And this is a team with a lot of pride, a lot of history, a lot of moves that are being talked about being made possibly for them, and even what those guys' value really is. But I do think they're heating up. They've won 3 in a row. They're going to do everything they can to keep going. Kyle Lowry's in Kyle Lowry mode unless Van Vliet gets hot. So I do think I want to make sure just that I reiterate that I think you want to take some interest in these Toronto guys, even in a not so great matchup. Sheets, anybody for point guard I didn't mention that you like?
Yeah, so my favorite play at point guard on FanDuel is actually Chris Paul.
I said Chris Paul. He's even one of my favorites. Yeah,
it's Chris Paul, and then Jalen Brunson. I don't know if you went over him.
I didn't say him.
He's 3,900. If you feel as though you need to pay down there. And then something in the middle is maybe Goran Dragic, who I alluded to earlier. So aside from those guys, another guy who looks okay, again, I don't really play him all that often, but I just figured I'd throw it out there as Patty Mills.
That was the name. That was the name I certainly wasn't expecting to hear.
No, and he's going to be like 2% owned, so I figured I'd just throw it out there.
Oh yeah, you'll be lucky. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And by the way, this guy's put up 20 in 6 out of his last 8, 7 out of his last 8.
Is what I'm saying.
Hey, I mean, some of those games they were missing guys, but still, pretty good.
So that's another one to throw into the mix. What about that shooting guard?
Where did we get with Patty Mills? Is there a reason his price is? It must be a little higher on DraftKings. Yeah, that's why. I was like, why didn't I think of him on DraftKings? All right, hold on one second. I just want to make sure that I don't totally forget about Mills, because that actually would be an interesting. If you played like a Mills Brunson point guard spot, you could just go nuts everywhere else.
Yep.
But I don't know. You're just hoping for 45. Okay. So shooting guard, favorite play is Paul George at 8,500. I level at Depot. Love Terrence Ross's upside at 5,300. I know he hasn't been good. I'm assuming that's of course assuming that Fournier's out. Then you get to. I have some interest in Booker over here. I don't love this position as much. I have some I have it spread out pretty much after those guys. I want to get more Van Vliet. I do think that's what I'm going to end up doing when I get stuck in decisions. I just want the team with the tight rotation and the guys I feel good with. It's like sort of going back to football, like the old Chiefs feeling, If the Chiefs if you don't know what to do, you like a lot of plays, just play the Chiefs.
All right, I'll second your Paul George play, and then I will pivot a little bit off of Oladipo here. I'll play DeRozan at the same price.
Interesting.
And the other value guys that I don't know if you mentioned Cam Reddish, but if he plays, he's good. And then if you want to play someone who burned a lot, I think it burned me the other day, and he's really, really cheap. You want to go back to him, is Gary Trent is 3,600.
Yeah, he's not a guy you should ever expect. Like, this is only a good situation for him because he's supposed to get more minutes. He may not even get more minutes, is the truth.
Nope.
McCollum.
Nope.
Because you've got
Hood,
Carmelo, and they're going to need more offensive firepower more often than defense. Now, there's also a totally different path where he makes a few threes and he plays good. He's a great defender. Yeah. He stays on the court. So I do like him as a play that I don't think anyone's really going to consider. But so that, I mean, look, there's a lot of downside in his game, but just the fact that he's got the opportunity to play 34 minutes if things break his way at that price, yeah, I don't mind it.
Wow, shoot small forward. Lots of value you could play here.
Go ahead.
That's small forward. Well, I'll start with the non-values, right? So I guess the best plays are Kawhi and Jaylen Brown, I suppose. So let's go to the first somebody that you talked about. Well, we were discussing DraftKings. You referred to him on FanDuel, but Rudy Gay is 4,100. Carmelo is 4,100. Derek Jones is 4K. Cam Johnson again over here is 4,300. I think all these guys you can play. If Wiggins is out, Oubre only 5,400. So I think I don't know. I think all those guys are really cheap.
Yeah, so I actually, my favorite plays here, what I'm doing is I'm going to rotate some of the cheap guys in, but I'm going to play a lot of Kawhi, like a lot.
Okay.
And then I'm going to play a lot of Jaylen Brown, and I'm going to play a lot of Malik Beasley.
Ooh, there you go.
6,600. I'm curious where the ownership ends up on him. There's an upside. There's a ceiling for this guy here. He just put up 47 the other day against Memphis when he got going. Without Cat, like it's people are gonna. It's probably look. D'Angelo Russell has more of the opportunity because he has the ball in his hands, and as we know, he likes to shoot it all the time. So, but by the way, D'Angelo Russell you can consider a shooting guard as well. But Malik Beasley is a guy who I just think at 6,600 has some real upside. So
for Malik Beasley, the only ownership protection I don't have is RGs. The other ones have it 5%, 8%, and 6%.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a really cool. Like I've got him in one of my first 2 builds, and then I don't mind the seeming overpay for Jeremy Grant here. Like if you don't want to do the what's it called thing, the Jaylen Brown thing. The usage is just so high, and he's just shooting so much that there's always upside for him even at 8,400. Then I agree. Then I'm just rotating all the value, and the guys that you're talking, those are the only other guys I'm considering. And then keep an eye out for Oubre on that Wiggins news. Although I sort of think Wiggins plays, but keep an eye out for it.
Power forward. Tristan Thompson, I guess again. It's 4,400. He's cheap. Covington is cheap. A lot of cheapies again. McDermott, 3,800. play him.
That's weird, isn't it? Like I kept finding that in my lineups. You really can spend up at point guard if you want to.
Well, there's nobody to play at power forward, right? You want to play Sabonis?
I don't think you need
You
to.
can play Bam, right? I mean,
Aaron Gordon makes sense.
Porzingis, I suppose.
Bam makes a lot of sense to me. If Hero's out, Bam is going to become just an unbelievable play.
If Hero is out.
Yeah, he just gets they run the offense through him. He plays point guard for them basically.
Okay.
So but I still love Bam anyway. So I right now have Bam and Porzingis as the top two, followed by Tristan Thompson. Maybe I'm gonna bump down a little bit. I think, and then I like Brandon Clark. I don't mind spending 6,500 for him. I think it's a good matchup. Tillman, Draymond, Vanderbilt a little bit. And then John Collins is my like wild card play. Like he's gonna have a monster game one of these days because he'll shoot. He can get hot, and this is a terrible defense. I could see John Collins just mashing this team.
Did you like you didn't like Curry at all on Golden here, did you?
Steph, yes.
You did like Curry here. Okay.
You just play. The thing is, if you play him, it's hard to justify him as being a better play than Damian Lillard, but you can play him in some lineups with Damian Lillard.
The only reason I bring it up is because I mentioned DeRozan and Rudy Gay for San Antonio. So
yeah, I just think that he's at a. I mean, like he can always go off. He's always going to be a good play, but you can play him with Lillard at point guard instead of, trying to pick one of the two.
Center, it looks as though Cantor is the play.
Everything sucks.
Yeah, it does. And the Wiseman play kind of scares me a little bit, but I think either him or Naz Reid would be my next two. But I do think that Cantor is probably the best center play. At least that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I don't mind DeAndre Ayton.
Ooh, that's interesting.
He's right around the same price, and he finally had a 40 fantasy point game his last time out against Memphis. Good matchup for him. He's only 6,700. I think that he's a fine play. I'll play Vucevic at the over the top price a little bit, but I mostly am going to be, if I'm going to spend up here, I'm probably going to spend on Joel. I think that makes the most sense. DeAndre Jordan's in play at 4,800, and so is Mason Plumlee, Wiseman, and Naz Reid. I really don't like this position, so I think that usually means for me play the best center, and that'll be Embiid with maybe a little bit of Vooch, or I'll just take a pick from one of these other guys that I feel will be the lowest owned, and that maybe not the lowest owned, but that I feel like maybe has more upside than people are.
What is Tillman on FanDuel?
Tillman on FanDuel is 4,600. He's at power forward.
Right.
By the way, if I don't know what the deal with Miles. I don't think you can play Miles Turner with the hand, I guess, broken if he plays. But if he does play, I just want to reiterate that he was really, really good whenever you didn't have Oladipo and Turner over the last while. He was like averaging 40 plus fantasy points a game and always carries massive upside with that shot blocking ability on FanDuel. But I don't know if you can do it with the broken hand. It seems like a bad time. You don't usually want a shot blocker and a 3-point shooter who has a broken hand.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite Memphis guys on FanDuel? Let me just take a look at this real quick.
Ja. I do think that, like we said, Dylan Brooks is more in play over here, and Kyle Anderson is okay. But I do worry about these minutes. I think they are a little bit more fluid. But part of it is Dylan Brooks gets in foul trouble too, so that actually kind of works in his favor. Like he'll still play crunch time. And I like Brandon Clark over here and Tillman, but I'm not going to play I'm not going to get more than I'll play 3 in some lineups, but mostly it's going to be 2 for me. And that's probably not going much more than that on many lineups.
I mean, cause you could play, just looking at some of these prices. So you can play Dylan Brooks, you can play Dylan Brooks again. Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get you excited about the
DeRozan.
Dylan Brooks play at 5,200.
No, I have Dylan Brooks. I understand.
Oh, okay.
And I understand the DeRozan thing too a little bit, but I don't know. For some reason, I'm finding myself having a hard time just forgoing the odd. Like I feel like Oladipo just I don't know how he's
he smashes DeRozan in in that matchup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
But it is a bad, like they do play slower in Phoenix, but it just feels like Oladipo. I mean, after watching the other day, it feels like he's got like free reign to do whatever he wants.
Sure does. I mean, at least for a little while.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's going to make DeRozan very low owned, by the way. So I kind of I'm actually like open to this idea. But again, Terrence Ross, even Kevin Huerter belongs on the list over here. I wonder if he'll get more ownership on FanDuel because he's 9,500 on DraftKings. I really wonder about that. Do you think Show Streets at all? Like he'll probably he's probably going to be what 5% owned today, but instead he's going to be like, I don't know, 8.
I don't know how it's gonna play.
That's just my guess, because if you're thinking about a guy that much, it tends to happen. It's like there was the day that they made what's his name $44 on Bartolo Colon because he was 44 years old on FanDuel, but some people played him at 4K on DraftKings too. You know,
right?
3% owned where he would have been beyond 0% owned. You know. All right, so I think we're pretty much out of here, guys. Hopefully that was helpful. We will be back with you. Sheets, you're going to be with me at 6 p.m. Eastern?
I will.
All right. So for Sheets, I'm Bobby saying good luck out there, and we'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.
All right, see you later, Bobby.